What's up, everybody? Spidarian here, and welcome back to another rambly review video thingy. I don't really know exactly what to call this other than rambling about blank and blank because I don't, as you guys know by now, I don't have a script. I just fly by the seat of my pants, I talk out of my ass, and hopefully something good enough comes out as the end result. But anyways, it's been a while since I've made any actually new videos. All of the gaming videos coming out on my channel right now, as of this video being made, are just my Resident Evil live stream videos. So yeah, it's been a while since I've actually made something new. My last anime review was The Fruit of Grisha, which I'm on season 2. I haven't finished season 2 yet. I'm working on it. I'll get there soon, and I'll make my own video about that as well. But, yeah, it's been a while since I've made an actually new video. Because I've just been busy with real life stuff. You know, I got a new temporary job that's been taking up a lot of my time and sapping away a lot of my energy. Online classes are going to start real soon because of, you know, a certain little pandemic going on. So there's no actual college, which, I mean, I don't mind. I don't really hate the online classes, but it's whatever. But yeah, I've just been a little busy lately. So I apologize for a lack of, well, videos in general. And I'm apologizing that all my Resident Evil videos, I still have all of 4, as of right now, all of 4 to upload, all of 5, 6, and then I still have to, Revelations, and then I still have to play through Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Revelations 2. And then I have to play through Resident Evil 3 Remake. Which is funny because I originally started my Resident Evil playthrough as like a little series that I was doing to build up hype, and I was going to play through Resident Evil 3 Remake when it came out. But then I ended up never doing that because I ran out of time, and I heard that the game wasn't really worth $60, but that's whatever. That's another story for another time. You guys are here for an anime review, or whatever this is, what this counts as, actually. And the anime we're going to be talking about today is The Rising of the Shield Hero. So, The Rising of the Shield Hero is, surprise, surprise, it's another isekai anime. I've only reviewed, I think, one isekai anime so far, and that was Darwin's Game. And even then, I don't really know if that counts as an isekai or not, because it's like, in that anime, it's like the game world is melding with the real world. It's not as though the protagonist of that show, I forgot his name because it's been a very long time since I've seen that show. It was really good though. I liked it. You should go watch it. You can watch my video on it too. But he doesn't really get transported to a new world. It's more as though the game world becomes the real world. So it's like, is that an isekai? Does that count? I don't know. But regardless, this is another isekai anime. And The Rising of the Shield Hero originally was written by Aniko Usagi. And again, as I'll say in pretty much every single one of these videos, I'm not a Japanese speaker. I apologize for any pronunciations that I butcher, because I will undoubtedly butcher a bunch of these pronunciations, and I apologize in advance. I'm trying to get better about it. But yeah, it was originally a web novel written by Aniko Usagi. But then it picked up steam, became popular, and did end up getting transferred and translated into a full-on light novel series, which then spawned a manga series, which then eventually spawned the anime that we are talking about today. And the anime was done by Studio Cinema Citrus, is how I think it's pronounced. They started with a K when cinema normally starts with a C, so I don't know if that changes the pronunciation or not. But I think it's Cinema Citrus is the name of the studio that created this anime adaptation. And as I usually do, right off the bat, we're going to talk about the technical aspects first. So, we'll start off with the animation. The animation is good. I think overall the animation is pretty solid. There's quite a few CGI monsters that show up because this is an isekai anime, so it's our main protagonist getting transferred into an alternate fantasy, medieval fantasy type world, par for the course for an isekai. I don't know, I mean, there probably is an anime by this point, but I just haven't found it yet, but I would really like to see an isekai where instead of getting transported to a medieval fantasy world, you say get transported to like a super far off, like mega cyberpunk world. I think that would be pretty cool. It probably already exists. If it does exist, let me know in the comment section, because I think that'd be a really cool take on the standard isekai tropes and genre. Because most isekais involve getting sent to a medieval type fantasy world, which is fine because medieval fantasy is dope. But it would be cool to see something shake it up. But anyways, so it's a typical medieval fantasy setting, but with some RPG-like video game elements to it. It's not like Sword Art Online where the whole thing is just a game, like it is a medieval fantasy game. It's more along the lines of it's a normal world, but for some reason there's like HUDs and health bars and XP and stuff, and it's just a normal part of the world, which I'll talk about that a little bit more in depth, because that's one of the weirder aspects of the show, but I'll talk about that more as we get to it. But yeah, essentially, it's just your typical medieval fantasy setting, which nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of common at this point, but it's nothing inherently wrong with it yet. It can be entertaining if done well. So there are some, larger than life monsters, or just monsters in general, and sometimes they tend to be in CGI. However, one thing that I think the show actually does fairly well is blending the CGI with the normal, traditional animation. You definitely notice the CGI, because it's just, no matter what, it's going to be noticeable. Unless you're watching a show like Berserk 2016-2017, where there is no traditional animation, so the only show is CGI. So you notice it because the whole thing is terrible, but you don't notice it in the same way. I'll have to do an anime review about Berserk at some point, because I love Berserk as a story, but my god, those anime adaptations. We'll talk about that later. So, there are some CGI characters and CGI monsters that do appear. They do a fairly good job of blending them in with the traditional animation, so I can't fault them too much for doing it, because, as much as it sucks, because 9 times out of 10, 3D CGI animation just looks horrible when set up against the backdrop of other just normal traditional 2D animation. It just looks bad. But this show does a fairly good job of not relying on it, but also blending it in pretty well. And this is just my personal opinion. You may say, it looks fucking terrible, you're a dumbass for thinking that. And that's totally valid, because there are some people that just cannot stand 3D CGI whatsoever. And I'm a little more forgiving of it, as long as it's not overused, which there are quite a few animes that overuse it, unfortunately. But, that's just the way it goes sometimes. But overall, I would say the CGI blends fairly well. There are a couple of instances where they kind of take it a little too far, as most studios that do rely on CGI inevitably will do. But overall, they blend it pretty well with the standard animation, so it's not too bad. And the show itself, it's not poorly animated by any way. The show looks very good. I do really like the show. Voice acting, as you guys should probably know by now, I'm a sub, not dub guy. I don't watch the English translations because anime just doesn't really sound that good in English. I don't know what to say. There's a lot of, I've said it before probably, but there's a lot of dumbass shit that gets said in anime. Really corny, dumb lines that just ruin any sense of seriousness or tension that a scene may have. But because they're saying it in Japanese, a language I don't understand, and they're saying it in a cool way in Japanese, in this language that I don't understand, it sounds dope. And then you translate it to English and put a normal English voice actor, and it just sounds usually bad. There are very few anime dubs that I would say are really good. Like Cowboy Bebop, that's a great anime. That's where the dub surpassed the sub. But I'm typically a sub, not dub guy, so I don't even know why I bring up the voice acting in general, because since I always watch sub, I can't really tell if it's bad or not. I wonder, do Japanese people, when they watch anime themselves, and they just watch it in their native language, I kind of wonder, do they think to themselves like, ugh, that guy sounds stupid? Like, do they like find there to be bad voice actors? I'd be really curious to find out about that. I should look that up sometime. That'd be interesting to find out if like Japanese people themselves are like, ugh, so and so is terrible, when us Western audience members can't tell the difference really. Because like there definitely is great voice acting in anime that you can tell. It's like they're doing really good. It's not just a matter of it's a foreign language, I can't understand what they're saying. Usually the delivery of the lines and the emotion that the characters put into their performances are really good and full of emotion. So I'm not trying to say that, you know, Japanese voice actors are bad voice actors and it's just because I can't understand what they're saying that it sounds cool. I'm just saying a lot of the time the script they're given may sound kind of dumb, but because they're saying it in a language that I can't understand, it sounds cool. So the voice acting is good. That's what I'm trying to say here. I watched it in sub, not dub. The voice acting is good. No problems there. And the music. The music didn't really stick out to me too much. I wasn't the biggest fans of the opening and endings. Rising of the Shield Hero, it came out in 2019, started in January 2019, and ended in June of 2019. And it ran, I think it's 25 episodes, maybe 26. It's around that range. It's a full season, not just like a half season with like 13 episodes. It's a full-blown season. And so they did the thing where they swapped the intro and outro halfway through to change it up and kind of make, mark it as season 1 part 2. I wasn't really the biggest fan of the opening or ending songs. I think the season 1 opening song was better than the season 2 opening song, and then I'm pretty indifferent on the ending songs. I only listened to them once, maybe twice, and then was just not really blown away, so I just decided to skip it. I like the visuals of the season 1 opening a lot more than the visuals for the season 2 opening. I think the visuals in the season 1 opening are really good. But yeah, overall though, it's not, in my opinion, it's not an intro or an ending that you have like a hard time skipping. Like a show like Black Clover, somehow Black Clover does not have a bad opening or ending yet. There are definitely ones that are better than others, but I wouldn't say there is an objectively bad opening or ending in Black Clover. Not in my personal opinion. They always pull out bangers for their opening and endings. And there are some Black Clover openings that I just can't skip because I love the song and the visuals too much. I just can't skip it, even though I've seen it 40 times by the point. But that's just what happens. This anime, you watch it once. You watch the opening and endings once, maybe twice. In my opinion, that was more than enough, and I just would skip them from then on. Or I would skip to the part of the opening where there was this one scene that I really liked, and then I would just like finish off the song from there because it was pretty much at the end. Otherwise, though, not really anything special. But the music for the show itself was conducted by Kevin Penkin, who, as you may or may not know from my Tower of God video that I posted or will have posted. I'm not sure. I don't think I've posted that one yet. I haven't posted that one yet. Oh no. Okay, basically behind the scenes look right here, just to show you how professional I am and to really prove the point that I am not doing this with a script. My friend and I, my friend Harper, who joined me on my ReZero mega long rambling about anime review of the first season of ReZero, which we'll definitely have to do one for season 2. My God, season 2 has been good so far. But anyways, we made a Tower of God one because I got him to watch Tower of God and he really liked it. I really liked it. Go watch Tower of God. It's great. Only 13 episodes. Watch it. It's really good. And Kevin Penkin is the composer for the main track. And the music in Tower of God is absolutely god tier. It's amazing music. I want to buy the soundtrack right now. It's that good. I would spend $50 on the Tower of God soundtrack. No lie. It's that good. It's just such a good soundtrack. And Kevin Penkin, you may also know, he also is this composer for Made in Abyss, which is a series I have not watched, but I've heard many good things about it, in particular the music. So that's another thing. He's got some really good, he's got some big titles underneath his belt, and he's done some great work. And in this show, the music's good. It's not it doesn't stick out to me as much as it does in Tower of God. In Tower of God, the music is very... A lot of the tension and just emotion of the scenes in Tower of God are built around Kevin Penkin's soundtrack. He really helps to enhance the scene. He doesn't steal it away, but he greatly enhances it, and the scene would be very different without it. In this show, there are some good tracks. The music overall is good, but it doesn't really navigate the scenes. It doesn't really carry the scenes as much as it does in Tower of God. I think Tower of God, just the music style there, just kind of lends itself more to being a little more freeing and allowing the music to be more controlling of the atmosphere. In this show, there's a bit more going on. But overall, the music is still good. It doesn't stick out to me as much as his work on Tower of God, but it is still good music. It is still good. And yeah, so from a technical aspect, the show is pretty solid. There's some CGI that might, trip you up a little bit, but I think they balance it pretty well. The music's pretty solid. The opening and endings, nothing amazing. They're not bad, but just nothing amazing, in my opinion. And like I said, the animation, it's good. It's solid. So now let's get into the story. So the story follows our protagonist, Nafumi Iwatani. Iwatani? I think it's Iwatani. I think that sounds more right. But we'll just call him Nafumi. Nafumi. Now for me. Now it just sounds like I'm saying now for me. Pronouncing Japanese names can be tough. Especially because it's been about a week since I finished it, so all the characters in the show saying his name again and again and again to really get it beaten into my brain has already melted out my other ear. So, Naofumi. His name's Naofumi. And he's your typical average ordinary dude. The story begins with modern day Japan, He's just a dude who's chilling. He's I think he's 20 years old. And he's just chilling, living the life. He saved his brother from getting in with bad people, and his parents decided to allow him to live at their house rent-free and also give him an allowance. So he's basically a man-child, but he's not a really bitchy, bratty one. So, it's okay. It's okay. But more or less, he's a man-child. And he just spends his time playing some MMORPG, spending money on it. Then when he runs out of money, he'll go to the library to pick up some light novels or some manga. He's just your average ordinary bro, He's a cute guy, but all the girls just pass him by because, well, he's basically an otaku. And he's a little bit of a loser. And I don't know what his hygiene's like. Maybe he smells. But overall, he's a nice guy whose favorite color seems to be green. But when he goes to the library one casual day to just go check out this new light novel, he finds this book, and the book talks about these evil waves that attack this crazy kingdom, and there's all these heroes, these 4 cardinal heroes get summoned, and each, wield a different powerful weapon. There's the sword hero, the spear hero, the bow hero, and then the shield hero. And he scrolls through all the characters, but then he finds the section on the shield hero is empty. It's blank. What the heck? And if you couldn't already tell by the title of the anime, and the fact that it's an isekai, he gets sucked into the book via magic bullshit that's not really explained. And he winds up in this fantasy world with a weird-looking shield attached to his arm. And he's surrounded by 3 other dudes. And guess what they're wielding? Did you guess? Good. I'm hoping you got it right. One of them has a bow, one of them has a spear, and one of them has a sword. And these other heroes are Motoyasu Kitamura, who is the spear wielder, Ren Amaki, who is the sword wielder, or the sword hero, I should say, because that's their official titles. By the way, quick side note, Ren is probably one of my more favorite names. And the reason for that, I don't know if I've said this already, but there was, back in my sophomore year of high school, in my chemistry class, I sat next to this Chinese foreign exchange student who could barely speak English. but for whatever reason, I was able to understand him really well. And so I always got partnered up with him because no one else could really understand what he was saying except for me. And he would, my name is Christian, but he would pronounce my name as Chris Ren. And I really like that. I really like the name Ren. I really like that name. And I would like it as a nickname for myself, but it doesn't really work unless you are mispronouncing my name or just saying it with a heavy accent. But I like the name Ren a lot. Quick side note over. Then there's Isuki Kawasumi, who is the bow hero. And these heroes are summoned to the kingdom of Melloramark. Yeah, they're summoned to that place. And sure enough, it's your typical fantasy world, fantasy medieval world. There's knights, there's castles, there's demi-humans. Although we'll get into the demi-humans a bit later about what's going on with them. And all the heroes line up in front of this king. I can't remember his name. His name is long and dumb. For the sake of simplicity, let's just call him Trash. I don't know why, that just came to mind. The name Trash just came to mind to me. So we call him Trash. So King Trash is hanging out. And he's being a king. He's being, he's like, yo, hero dudes. Thanks. Y'all cool. Y'all cool. Except for you, shield hero. Fuck you. He doesn't say that outright, but he basically does. All the other heroes are getting showered with praise, but for some reason, not for me, he's kind of getting shunned. And he doesn't really know why. So the heroes retire to their chambers for the night, and they find out that this is kind of a video game world, and I guess I'll talk about it now. This is one of the weirder things about the show that's not really explained, and I don't feel like it ever will be, is that it is a bit like Sword Art Online, where they're kind of stuck in a video game, but not really. It's weird, because as I mentioned earlier, there is a HUD. Like, people, I don't know if everyone has a HUD, but I'm assuming most people do. But they have a HUD where they can see, like, their health. If they're in a party, they can see their partner's health and, like, MP bars. And they gain XP when they kill monsters or do tasks. They gain XP and stuff, and they can level up their weapons and whatnot. And it's kind of weird. It's kind of odd. Because, like, it is, in a way, it's like they are just in a video game. But also they're not. So, like, they're in Sword Art Online, but not. It's like if Sword Art Online just became a fully normal functioning world. That's kind of what the world of the Shield hero is like. There are video game elements, but no one really cares or notices it. It's just normal everyday life to them. And it's interesting. It is interesting. I do kind of like it, but I do wish they kind of explained it or brought it to attention, but it's not that big of a deal, really. So the heroes all retire. Oh, yeah, because the heroes aren't allowed to party up with each other because their weapons are special, because they're special hero weapons. Only they can use them. No one else can pick them up. And they can't use any other weapons outside of their class. So Naofumi at one point tries to pick up a sword because he's like, I can't do anything with a shield. I need a sword to attack with. Well, turns out he can't even pick up a sword at all because of his shield. And the same goes for all the other heroes, Ren, the sword hero, wouldn't be able to pick up a shield to defend himself with because he's not allowed to. So they have to stick with their respective weapons that they are assigned to. Which means Naofumi got the short end of the stick because his weapon isn't even a weapon. It's a shield. Like, you can shield bash the fuck out of somebody, but that's not as cool as stabbing them with the spear, or chopping their head off with a sword, or shooting them in the kneecap with a bow, arguably. So Naofumi is already feeling kind of sad. And you find out that all these other heroes, which, for the sake of me not butchering their names too much, I'll just refer to them as their hero weapon title, like the spear hero, bow hero, and sword hero, just for the sake of simplicity. Please bear with me. But anyways, they all go to their chambers, because, again, they can't party up with each other because something about their weapons, they can't be within too close of proximity, otherwise they'll stop earning XP. So they have to form their own parties and set out on their own individual adventures. But the heroes, so they can't team up together. But they all go to their chambers for the night to just chill. And they all find out that all these heroes, they're all from alternate versions of modern day Japan. And they start asking each other a bunch of different questions, like who's on the dollar bill, or whatever the Japanese equivalent to that is. Who won the last election? What's the name of blank city? Who won World War II? And it turns out all of these characters are from alternate Japans. So that element was really cool. I actually really liked that. They all, just didn't get summoned from, our world to this other world. They got summoned from alternate realities. And it's really cool. And I hope they kind of do more with that alternate reality stuff. I really like that. So the next day, all the heroes get their parties ready, and, well, looks like no one wanted to join with Nafumi. No one wanted to join his little shield brigade. But then, this beautiful woman comes to his aid and offers to party up with him. And her name is Malty, and her adventure name is Mine. So she offers to team up with Nafumi and to be his sword, because he can't attack. He kind of needs her to do all the work. So she attacks, he defends, they split the XP. She gets more than he does, but he still gets some as well. And that's how Nafumi is to level up. That's how he's supposed to get more powerful. So, Nafumi and bitch, I mean, slut, I mean Malty, they send out, they go out, and they get they do some grinding, they kill these little balloon creatures. And, Nafumi can, feed them to his shield, and that unlocks, skill trees within his shield, and gives his shield XP, essentially. And then they make some money, too. Well, the king sent all the heroes off with a big lump of money. And they can earn money by selling their spoils in battle and whatnot, and find monster loot. But then Nafumi goes, and he offers, they go to a local blacksmith, and they go to buy, Nafumi goes to buy Malty, he goes to buy her some armor. He buys her really nice, high-quality armor. He gets himself some pretty low-quality shit. Then they go and have a drink, and you find out that the kingdom of Melormac, the kingdom is a matriarchy. So actually, women are in higher positions of power and higher status than men. So take that, traditional anime tropes. This isekai anime actually did do something different. And so that means the queen of the kingdom has a lot more power than King Trash, but she's absent at the time for reasons unknown. And they do explain later, but I don't really want to make this a story synopsis. I just want to get through this first little part, because the first half of the show really had me hooked. The first 13 episodes just had me absolutely enthralled with the world and the story. And here's why. So, after Nafumi declines a drink with Mine, he goes to his bed to sleep, and he's all happy and excited to start his adventure because, this bitch, Malty, she's really cute. She's really cute. And, he's really into her. But then he wakes up the next morning and all of his shit's gone. And he's like, what the fuck? His new armor? It's all gone. And he goes out to bitch's door and knocks on it and he goes, yo, where are you? We got robbed. And then a bunch of these guards come up and say, hey, come with us. And he's like, yeah, okay. And then he goes and he gets, the King Trash is blowing a gasket over here. He's fuming mad, and Narumi's none the wiser to what's going on. And all the other heroes are gathered, and you see Malty chilling, and she claims that Nafumi came into her quarters late at night, drunk, and tried to rape her. And this may be where the show loses some people. And this is episode 1, by the way. And this could be where the show loses some people. Although for me, it enhanced the show a lot because I was not expecting that to happen. I was really surprised at that little plot twist. But it turns out that bitch, Malty, she went to the spear hero and claimed that she came to him all disheveled and claimed that Nafumi was drunk and tried to rape her, but she just barely got away in time. And she actually gave Nafumi's armor that he bought for himself to the spear hero. And she kept her nice, fancy, pretty armor that Nafumi bought for her. And not to mention, she also stole all of his money, with like the small exception that he's like stored on his body. And basically, the king is pissed because you find out that Multi, is King Trash's daughter. She's the first princess of this kingdom. And the King Trash is pissed that his bitch, Multi, that she would be assaulted in this way. And especially because this kingdom is a matriarchy. So crimes like rape, they're especially bad here. They're especially horrible in the real world, but in this fantasy world where women are in charge, yeah, they're 3 times as bad. And the only reason why Nafumi isn't thrown in jail or executed is because he is the shield hero. He is the only hero. In this world, they're being attacked by these waves. They're not explained at all in season 1. They don't even really question why they're here. I think Nafumi's like, what's going on? Why is this going on? And then just completely accepts it and doesn't care for the rest of the season. It's not explained whatsoever what the waves are or what the cause of them is. It'll probably be, I'm assuming it'll be explained in further seasons. But as for now, these waves come. The first wave attacked and the kingdom got fucked up. They just barely fought it off. So they had to summon all the heroes to fight it off. And basically the waves, just a bunch of evil, ugly monsters come out of the ground and start doing bad stuff to people. And there'll be like a raid boss that the heroes have to team up to kill. And that's essentially how the waves work. They literally are just waves of enemies that they have to deal with. And they come every so often. And they have this fancy hourglass that tells them when the wave's going to attack. And every place that has an hourglass can be attacked. So they have to deal with all that. But then... so Nafumi, he's been accused of this absolutely horrendous crime, and all of the other heroes have just completely turned against him. Everyone is just against him. No one is willing to believe him, even though there is no real concrete proof. It is just bitch's word against Nafumi's. But given her position, and given that this kingdom is a matriarchy, not a patriarchy, everyone just immediately takes her side. And there is definitely the shield hero and King Trash definitely have some kind of past with one another, because the way all the heroes work is that they're kind of like Link from the Legend of Zelda series, where technically it's always a different person from game to game, with a few exceptions, obviously, like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. But usually it's like they look the same, but they're a completely different person, set hundreds of years apart from the previous Link's adventure. That's kind of how the shield hero, the cardinal heroes as they're called, that's kind of how they function too. So there has been past spear, sword, bow, and shield heroes. They were just different people who were summoned from different worlds. And it's unknown how much time has passed between each summoning. But there definitely is something between the king and the shield hero, a shield hero of the past. And the shield hero in general is just kind of not well liked, because it's found out that most past shield heroes are kind to demi-humans. Because that's where this world's major social problem comes in. The world doesn't really have racism in the traditional sense of black versus white, or brown, or yellow, whatever the fuck color you want to make someone's skin, and justify that for being a reason to hate them, I guess. In this world, there is, I guess, actual racism, where it's the humans, and there's humans and demi-humans. Demi-humans, they're exactly how they sound. They're like half animal, half human. Usually just means, fox girls and dog boys. That's usually what it means. But the demi-humans and the humans are not on good terms. There are some kingdoms where they get along, but then there are other kingdoms where the demi-humans reign supreme. There's like demi-human supremacists, there's human supremacists. So the world there's a lot of racism. And in the kingdom of Meloromac, it's a human supremacist country. So demi-humans are treated very poorly. They're frowned down upon. There's a lot of racism going on there. And the shield hero has always been kind to the demi-humans. So the people of the kingdom are already kind of like, you know what? We don't really like this dude because he's canoodling with the people that we don't like for dumb reasons. We're going to be kind of rude to this guy. But there definitely is some history between King Trash and the past shield hero. But essentially, everyone hates Naofumi. No one's even willing to listen to him. They all just write him off as a rapist and a piece of shit that we just have to keep around just because. And Naofumi is now all alone. He has to go off and try to fight on his own, which he quickly realizes that he can't, and he realizes that he's going to have to get himself a partner. But since he has the mark of a rapist essentially following him, no one likes him, no one wants to interact with him, he can't find anyone willing to join his party. So he ends up going to this creepy man who is, I think he's just called the slave trader. Because in the kingdom of Malromark, slavery is legal. Slavery of demi-humans, that is legal. So Naofumi goes and he purchases himself a slave, which is where we meet our second main character and best girl of the show so far, Raphtalia. Or Raphtalia. I think it's Raphtalia. Raphtalia sounds more right to me. Raphtalia makes her sound like a reptile. But Raphtalia. She's a half raccoon, demi-human. And, well, she's a slave. And she's very sick and ill and really weak when Naofumi first meets her. And he takes her along and he treats her very well, which made me happy because I was a little worried that they were going to do like some weirdo slave shit, but they really don't, and that makes me happy that they didn't go down a really dark path, because this whole slave trader and slavery theme of the show is really disturbing, because you know us real life humans have a history with slavery that isn't fun to remember. But essentially, like Naofumi, he takes really good care of Raphtalia. He takes really good care of her. He sends her into, they go into this pub, and he buys her the kids' meal because she saw another kid having it and wanted it. She saw kids playing with a ball, so he went and bought her a ball to play with. He combs and cuts her hair. She has an accident in the bed. He cleans it up, and he treats her really well. But then there does come the time when, she has to start training with the sword and start, in a sense, killing for Naofumi so he can actually level up and become stronger. And that's when she begins to that's when Raphtalia begins to falter. And that's when Naofumi has to use the slave crest on her chest. She has this little symbol on her chest it's a slave crest, and it makes it so that if he says, "I order you to do something," she is forced to comply, no matter what. And he does use it on her, I think, 2 times. There was one time where she has to kill a bunny. She doesn't want to kill a bunny, but he forces her to. Because, well, if she's going to do this job for him, she has to get used to seeing blood. And then they go to this mine, and he gets attacked by, like, a 3-headed dog or whatever. 2-headed dog, I think. And he's getting killed. He's currently getting chomped on. And he orders her to go, fight and kill it. But she can't because she's scared, and because Raphtalia, she was sold into slavery when her parents got killed in the first wave. Her parents got killed, then a bunch of dickhead humans came in and enslaved her and her people. And that's how she became a slave. And the creature that killed her parents looks a lot like the creature that's currently attacking Naofumi. So she is like a crazy PTSD flashback. Where, at this point, her, Raphtalia and Naofumi have a pretty good relationship. He doesn't abuse her. He treats her very well, and she's kind of getting, used to the fact that someone's actually treating her well for once in her life. But then this comes up, and he's getting killed, and she can't kill it because she's freaking out. And he lets her go. He says, "Okay, just run. Just get out of here then." And then she's like, "No, I can't leave. I don't want you to go. You've been the one other person in this world who's been nice to me. Don't leave me." And so she musters up the courage to kill the monster. And then Raphtalia becomes a total badass for the rest of the series. She becomes his sword. And Probably the weirdest thing about Raftalia is the fact that there's this thing with demi-humans to where they age based upon their level that they are. So, like, they age faster given their level. So Raftalia is like 10 years old when Naofumi first finds her, but then after partying up and working together for a while, she levels up and she ends up looking like she's like in her 20s. Like she's like in her she's like a 18-year-old. And this is where things get a little gray in the is it okay to be attracted to this character or not, because it's like, is she still technically like a 10-year-old demigirl? Or is she like actually older now? Like she looks older, but is she actually older? But regardless of attraction and the legality of it, she is still an amazing character. She is like the definition of character you want to protect and you want to see grow stronger. She's great. I really love the relationship that her and Naofumi have, where, you know, he doesn't abuse the slave crest because he doesn't have to, and they both learn to genuinely trust each other. And there's even a moment where Naofumi gets challenged to a fight by the spear hero, which all of the other heroes besides Naofumi are all dumbasses that are really annoying to watch, but by far the most insufferable of them all is the spear hero. He is just the biggest tool bag. The absolute biggest dickhead in the entire show. Partially because he's being manipulated by Multi. He's being manipulated by her to do his bidding. But at the same time, it's just so frustrating because he's such a dumbass and he's so mean. And Naofumi's not doing anything wrong, but they tried to take Raftalia from him, and he's like, no. So they has a 1v1 duel, but then Multi intervenes. She intervenes and blasts him with wind magic, and he loses the duel, and Raftalia loses her slave crest, and this pisses off Naofumi. This pisses off Naofumi a lot. He ends up unlocking this thing called the Rage Shield, which, it wouldn't be an isekai anime if the main character didn't gain at least one special power-up that makes them super unique and OP compared to everyone else. So, that's Naofumi's special power. He gets access to this thing called the Rage Shield, which is immensely powerful, and for being a shield, has a ton of offensive capabilities. But essentially, Naofumi is like, okay, just leave me then. But Raftalia is like, no, I won't. I'm still your sword. She willingly gets the slave crest put back on herself just to show her loyalty to him. Which, I like their relationship a lot. Because it starts off kind of like, oh dear. Is this like trying to be like a pro-slavery thing? Like, what the hell? Like, come on, Japan. This is a little weird. But that's really not the point of their relationship. And one thing that is actually interesting to note is that they eventually get a wagon when they meet the next main character of the party, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But they get, this is a really cool detail that I like, because one thing about this show is that there actually is quite a bit of attention to detail, which is really cool. But there's this part where Naofumi and gang, they're traveling via cart. And not Mario Kart, just like a normal horse-drawn cart, although it's not drawn by a horse. But Raftalia, she gets like motion sickness in the carts. But then there's a later part in the show where they're on a boat, and Raftalia doesn't get motion sickness at all on the boat. And Naofumi actually points that out. And something that I saw in a comment section on the video, which makes a lot of sense, is that people theorize that the reason why Raftalia gets sick in carts is because that's what she was carted away in when she was a slave. It's a source of trauma for her. She doesn't actually get motion sick from the movement of the cart. She gets sick from the uncomfortable memories of being locked away in a cart, being transferred around as a slave. So that was actually really cool. And it was a really cool attention to detail to know that she doesn't get sick on boats. And like Naofumi, he points that out. And I thought that was just a really cool attention to detail. But anyway, so they go on adventures. They keep getting more powerful. The slave trader sells Naofumi this egg. And the egg ends up hatching this creature called a Philorta? It's more or less a chocobo. from Final Fantasy. That's basically what it is. I'm just gonna call them chocobos from now on. They're chocobos. And Naofumi wins a race against the spear hero on a chocobo, and the chocobo kicks him in the nuts. And Naofumi decides to name this chocobo Philo, which is it's like close to the actual name of the creature itself. But it turns out that Naofumi got really lucky, because he wakes up one day to find that his bird companion, who grew huge after being a riding companion, ended up becoming a cart carrying companion, turned out to be able to shapeshift into a little girl. And this is where another part of the show that may turn some people off comes in. Philo. Or Philo. I think it's Philo. Philo sounds more accurate to what they were saying in the show. But Philo, she is this bird creature that is able to take the form of a human. And she's unique. This isn't the norm for these creatures. She is a unique version. Naofumi got lucky with his draw of her. And she's a little weird at first, because it turns out that when she transforms from bird to human and vice versa, her clothes all disappear. And that right there was very uncomfortable, because she looks like she's 12 at the oldest. And that made me very uncomfortable to see those first couple of scenes where she's just transforming in and out of her clothes. And obviously, I mean, this is an anime, not a hentai, so you don't see anything. Her hair just conveniently covers up her breasts, which, yeah, I'm not really aiming to look at little kid breasts, even though she's not really a little kid, because A, she's not real, and B, she's like a bird creature thing in a fantasy world. But regardless, she's a little off-putting at first, just because of that, hardcore lolly vibe that you get from her. But they turn it around and save it, because she does eventually, they go on a quest to get her special clothes. And these clothes, they're specially designed with magic fiber to use her own mana so that they don't break. They can't rip, or they can, but they can get repaired right away by her. And they don't disappear when she transforms. And that is where, at least in my eyes, that's where all sexualization of Philo disappears. After her first initial appearance of her just being haha naked bird girl, she then wears this little angelic gown, and she's never sexualized again for the rest of the show, which is something I'm grateful for. There isn't a lot of fan service in this show, which I'm glad about. There's a couple of scenes where you can see Raphtalia hanging out in a hot spring, which is a little ooh. And, there's a little bit of cleavage with Mine's character. There's a little bit of cleavage going on with her, but it kind of fits her character, so it's not really an issue. When you do eventually meet the queen, I don't remember what her name is, I'm afraid. But when you meet the main queen of the kingdom, goddamn. Goddamn. I'm not usually into MILFs, and she's not really that much of a MILF, but damn. She sells the stereotype. She does the stereotype justice, so that classification, she does it justice. The queen of this kingdom is hot as hell. And there's a little bit of fan service with her getting changed. She's wearing a sports bra and nothing else. But that's pretty brief. And I mean, of course, this is a fantasy anime, so all of the women are wearing breastplates that are quite literally breastplates, as in they can perfectly conform to the shape of their breasts, which is funny because that kind of actually defeats the entire purpose of breastplate. A woman can be a knightly warrior as much as a man can, in all honesty. But a woman's armor would not look any different than a man's armor. Maybe it'd be a little bit smaller to help fit a figure a bit more, but it would not, you're not, in real life, armor doesn't conform to your breasts, because that kind of defeats the whole purpose of, the breastplate is supposed to be shaped the way it is to help deflect blows, so that you don't just get slashed or stabbed super easily. It's purposely shaped that way to deflect blows. So if you get it perfectly, designed to fit perfectly around your own body type, that's not really going to do you any good, because it's not really going to deflect anything. It's not going to deflect the force from the blow as well as if it was just standard design breastplate. And that has been Medieval History Lesson with Christian. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Um, so yeah, those breastplate armor in this show. And then it goes on, and Nafumi, he ends up getting like barbarian armor, which looks cool on him and all that. The blacksmith dude's really cool, and he doesn't believe that Nafumi is a rapist. Like the blacksmith, I forgot his name. I don't even know if he actually has a name, but he is the real homie. He is the biggest homie. He's a cool ass dude. But anyways, so Nafumi, Raphtalia, and Philo all go out on various adventures, getting stronger, gaining actual experience as well as XP. But as the show goes on, and this is something that I really liked about the first 13 episodes, because I'm not going to do a synopsis of the whole show. Pretty much my synopsis stops right here. There's another character they encounter who is Melty. She is the second princess of the kingdom, and she is on the Shield Hero side, not the king's side, because she's working more alongside her mother, the queen of the kingdom. She comes, she does stuff, she's cool. I'm not really going to be talking about much of the story that has her involved, but she's a character who is here and does things. She has like water magic, that's pretty neat. She loves the bird creatures that Philo is. She exists, she does stuff. I'm not really going to talk about it too much because the first 13 episodes of this show are just super good. Because basically Nafumi goes around and he's pretty much abandoned the whole idea of being a hero for the sake of being a hero. If he's going to help you, he wants to be compensated for it. He wants either goods or money. Because he's become super jaded. Because the whole world, just doesn't trust him. Everyone's written him off, branded him as a horrible rapist, a criminal, just absolute scum of the earth. So he's just basically written everyone off. He has massive trust issues now. For like the longest time, he wasn't even able to taste food. All food tasted the same to him. Until eventually, like, Raphtalia and Philo warmed his heart by being good people. But essentially, he's kind of like Geralt from The Witcher, where he's a good guy deep down, and he does want to do the right thing, but he also is like, I need money. Like, he's a realist. He's like, I need money. Pay me some money to do this shit, please. Like, he will do the right thing, but he wants to be paid for it. He doesn't want to do it just out of the goodness of his heart. He wants to get compensated fairly for it. So he goes around, like, and he ends up, like, his shield can transform into a bunch of different shields that all have different elements. And he has, like, a book shield that's, like, allows him to use magic, and he can, like, enhance potions and stuff. So he goes around healing people. And then as he goes along in his adventures, and this is something that I really liked about this show, is that he keeps stumbling upon the aftermath of the other heroes' triumphs. More so, the other heroes' negligence. It comes around to where Nafumi, at some point or another, has to clean up after every single one of the other heroes' mistakes. They make a mistake, and he has to be the one to clean it up. The spear hero, he finds this magic seed and, fixes a village and saves a village that was having a really bad famine. But this ancient seed was actually evil and corrupt and ended up spawning a giant evil plant monster that was taking over the whole city. So Nafumi had to go and kill it. Then there was the sword hero. He killed a dragon and left its corpse just sitting on the top of this village to show off as a monument of his strength. And, well, it turns out that the dead things rot. This isn't a video game where the body just disappears after a certain amount of time. The body rots and unleashes this horrible sickness upon the city below it. And Nafumi and the rest of the gang have to end up fighting the dragon again as an undead dragon, which was not fun to deal with, and was also CGI. And then the bow hero, he overthrows a tyrannical rule in a neighboring country, but it just ends up leaving all the people displaced and without homes. So Nafumi has to go and feed those people, and it really deconstructs the idea of, like, all the other heroes are going around doing stuff for the sake of doing it because it's good. Like, they're your stereotypical like good guy protagonist, where they do stuff just for the sake of good, and not for anything else. But they don't take responsibility for their actions. They don't realize that they're, that, like, when will you realize that your actions have consequences? They don't realize that. They don't understand that. And Naofumi, time and time again, has to go and clean up after them. And it just makes them madder and madder because they're going around getting all the fame and glory. Everyone loves them, but they're causing these super massive problems. And as time goes on, the little men that Naofumi ends up helping, the locals, the peasants, as he keeps helping them, they begin to realize that, okay, yeah, everything they said about him is most likely wrong, and he's actually a good guy, even if he does want all of our money for doing this stuff. And I really like that deconstruction of the stereotypical isekai protagonist of, I do stuff for the sake of being good. So I actually really liked that Naofumi doesn't do stuff for the sake of being good. He does it to gain something. And it made him feel a lot more realistic. And like I said, it made him feel a bit like Geralt of Rivia. Although Geralt is cooler. But Naofumi, he kind of gives off that same vibe. And eventually, one of the first wave that all the heroes are there for hits, and all the other heroes get their asses. All the other heroes succeed in killing the. Wait, do they succeed? Hold on, let me think. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, all of the heroes, they can't take down. They're unable to defeat the raid boss of the wave just because they're not working together. So then Naofumi comes up and is like, yo guys, fix your shit, and basically cleans up after them yet again. But then this mysterious lady whose name is Glass, and she wields fans, like Japanese fans for cooling yourself off. I guess they're really effective weapons. I didn't know she was a Kyoshi warrior. Just dropping a quick Avatar The Last Airbender reference right there. I did just finish Avatar, so I may have to do a anime review on Avatar one of these days soon. I think I'll do that. But yeah, so Glass, this mysterious lady, just shows up and is like, ooga booga, and fucks all the other heroes' days just up. Not for me, since he's actually gaining experience. Like, I think, like, the other heroes are technically higher level than him. But because Naofumi, like, in this world, the other heroes were essentially playing it as a video game, while Naofumi was playing it as real life. So while the other heroes are technically more powerful than him, in terms of stats, maybe like higher health, more raw damage output, they aren't gaining actual experience. And then Naofumi just goes and breaks out his Rage Shield, which, I think, like, the first time he uses it, he accidentally curses Raphtalia, and she gets really hurt from it. And I think when he does it again, she gets, like, curse burns from it that needs pure holy water to cleanse them. But essentially, he uses his OP Mega Rage Shield to kill the boss, and then also to fight off Glass. And Glass is like 10 leagues above all of these guys. She basically completely ignores the other three heroes and really only views Naofumi as a real hero and as the real threat. And we find out a lot more about her later. And her story is actually really cool. I really like her character. At first I was just like, okay, what is this dumb shit? She's fighting with fans. Okay, I can't get behind this. But then she makes a reappearance later on in the show's finale. And the revelation that's revealed with her re-reveal is really cool, and I really like the twist, and I'm hoping they do I'm assuming there's going to be a lot more with that in season like 2 and 3 of the story. But essentially Naofumi is able to hold her off. He can't really beat her because she's just too powerful, but he holds her off until, like, this time limit ends, because I guess the waves can only persist for so much longer after the main boss has been defeated. So they defeated the boss. Glass gets repelled. She can't kill anybody. And Naofumi goes off again and continues on his adventures. Then oh, wow, voice crack. Zoinks! Then Naofumi and gang, they keep going on their adventures, and Bitch goes on and tries to assassinate her sister, Melty, and frames Nafumi for being a creepy kidnapper. Like they literally they literally record Nafumi and Raphtalia fighting off the assassins, and then they like literally doctor the footage to like make it look like everyone's killing, like make it look like Nafumi and friends are killing everyone. That part was really cool. But they go along, they end up meeting this other character, and then the show around like the episode like 14 to like 16 mark, in my opinion, the show got kind of weak. Like this little middle portion, the show just got. I just stopped liking it. The quality of the show just really seemed to drop for me, and I think part of it was because they gave Raphtalia her own episode to kind of explore her backstory, and it just felt really unnecessary. It just really felt like an unneeded episode because I already know Raphtalia had a really horrible life until Nafumi found her and saved her, essentially. She had a horrible life. Like, that was not a hidden secret. Her parents were killed. She got put into slavery. This episode tries to go and it shows all that happening, more or less. But it was like, I didn't really need it. Not to mention, the show, it's kind of odd. The show sometimes goes hard with its guts and gore. But then also a lot of the time it like really holds back. Like, it holds back when it shouldn't. And sometimes goes hard when it shouldn't. Like they need to balance what is like allowed to be gory and what isn't. Like, they need to balance that a bit. But essentially, this whole like they pull the classic Raphtalia. She confronts the guy who imprisoned her and enslaved her and abused her, and they pull the classic. She's gonna kill him, but then she doesn't because that would make her just as bad as him. And Nafumi's like, yeah, you made the right choice, even though at this point in time his character is still really like mean and jaded at the world for being so mean and jaded to him. So that didn't really feel like something he would say or do at this moment in time. But essentially so she doesn't end up killing the dude, because then if she does, she's just as bad as him. Even though it's like, no, Raphtalia, you can kill this guy. He's a piece of shit who deserves to die. He literally enslaves demi-humans and abuses them daily for pleasure. And who knows what else he does to them. If this was Goblin Slayer, he would totally be like raping everybody. But this isn't Goblin Slayer, so he's only whipping them. He's only abusing them physically. But he's a horrible person, and I don't see the logic in how if I kill this person who is committing these series of atrocious acts and constantly like butchering innocent people, how me killing him makes me just as bad as him. It's like, and this is purely hypothetical. It's like, say I'm a cop doing a bust on there's this guy who's like a mass serial killer rapist freak who's going around, and say I'm a cop and he's like gonna kill this other person, but I all of a sudden go, wait, I can't shoot you, because if I shoot and kill you and stop you from hurting all these other people, that makes me just as bad as you, because I killed you. I stooped to your level. It's the classic Batman Joker thing. It's like, honestly, Batman should kill the Joker. Like, there's no way that Joker should not have been either killed by Batman or like legally executed for all the shit he's done. Like, let's be real. Joker should be dead. It's kind of like that, you know. So yeah, so Raphtalia is like, even though you're this really horrible, abusive person that kills innocent demi-humans for fun, if I kill you, that makes me just as bad as you, and I'm not gonna do it. But then he ends up falling out of a window and dying anyway. So like, he summons like this evil dragon, which is literally just a T-Rex, and it's called Tyrant, and it's CGI. He literally summons that creature, then dies. So it's like they pulled the classic, I'm not gonna kill you because that makes me just as bad as you, but you die anyway. So then we still feel fine and fun and justified in what we do. And that is just, ugh. That really sucked. That episode was garbage. I hate to say it. I really like Raphtalia as a character. I really like her. She's cute. She's fun. She's a good character overall. And I really like seeing her relationship with Nafumi. I mean, she does kind of like end up falling in love with him because, you know, it's isekai. But like she was already like a liked, loved character. There really was no need to make me see her entire backstory because I already liked her. I already cared for her. I already realized like she went through some dark shit. I didn't need to see it firsthand. And I didn't need to have her do the whole, oh, I'm going to kill you, but I'm not really going to kill you because that makes me just as bad as you. And I need to be the moral, upstanding person here for the little kids watching this show. Like, no. Ugh, I did not like that episode at all. And then, yeah, the show gets kind of bad. And then it picks up towards the end again, though. This whole, like, big conspiracy ends up being uncovered about like, this massive organization within the kingdom. And, the show, it starts off super strong. The first 13 episodes I absolutely loved. I loved the deconstruction of the stereotypical isekai, good for the sake of good protagonist, with Naofumi being very jaded at this world. And then it gets really weak for a couple of episodes, where this story just felt like it really wasn't going anywhere or doing anything. It got kind of weak for the next couple of episodes. And then it gets pretty strong again at the end. And the last couple of episodes are really good. And overall, I would have to say, I would say give the show a watch. I did really like it. I understand the isekai genre is super oversaturated right now, and I mean, it's understandable why. Like, escapist fantasy has always been a super fun, popular thing, you know? Like, video games are the ultimate escapist fantasy. So it makes sense that, you know, like, isekai animes are really fun to watch, and why they're so enthralling, and why they're so popular. Especially at a time like now, in 2020, where the world's fucking dog shit. You know? It's fun to dream about being, you know, falling asleep and waking up in a cool fantasy world where you're overpowered and all this other stuff, and the world's gonna bow to you. And so, like, it makes sense that the isekai genre in general is really popular right now. But since there's so many isekais coming out, it is kind of hard to say, you know, which ones are actually good and which ones are just bad. Overall, I would have to say this one's on the better side. I haven't watched a ton of isekai animes. My main two that I have watched are Overlord, which I'll definitely need to make an anime review about, and what was the other one? Oh yeah, ReZero, which I already did make a video about, and I'll have to make a video about for season 2. Although that'll be like 2 videos technically, because season 2 is getting split into 2 parts. That's kind of sad. But yeah, and both of those isekai animes really break away from the stereotypical isekai tropes. So I would say this is like my first more traditional isekai. But even then, like, I mean, I don't even know, like, what you would call as your traditional isekai. Would it be Sword Art Online? Is that, like, your stereotypical isekai where it hits all the notes of the tropes? That kind of rhymed. And probably. That's probably the best. That's probably a safe bet. But, yeah, this anime is just, with Naofumi being the character he is, with, like, he is this isekai hero, but the world hates him. And he gets accused of crimes he didn't commit. He's demonized by the world around him, even though he's just trying to be a good guy, living his life, doing his thing. And I really like that. I liked that shake-up on these, you know, stereotypical isekai protagonist, and how the other heroes are those stereotypical protagonists, but Naofumi isn't. He's different. And I liked it. I liked that shake-up. And like I said, the first 13 episodes, super good. Absolutely loved them. Gets a little weak in the middle, a couple of episodes in the middle that I wasn't the biggest fan of. But then it picks back up, it rises back up, and it's pretty good. It finishes off pretty strong. And I'm very excited to see what happens in season 2. I think season 2 got confirmed. I don't know for sure, but I mean, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Rising of the Shield Hero was very popular. So I imagine it will probably get a season 2 and 3. But overall, it definitely is the most stereotypical of all the isekais I've watched so far. because like I said, the only other two that I've really watched were Overlord and ReZero, which are very different. And then I have watched Sword Art Online. This one is definitely more on the Sword Art Online spectrum, but it's still a good show, and it's a fun watch. Raphtalia and Philo are great characters. Melty's, she's cool. You absolutely love, you love to hate Malty. Like you love to hate her. She's that evil of a character. You just hate her from the get-go. You just hate her, and you want to see nothing but bad things happen to her. But overall, the show is pretty good. It's a pretty good show. Only 26 episodes, which, I mean, that's a little more of a time commitment than some of these other shows I've watched where they're only 13 episodes. But overall, I would say it's worth it. And, push through the middle episodes where where the story gets a little weaker. But just keep pushing through. And it does get good again towards the end. And overall, it was an enjoyable show. Now, maybe, hey, say if I had watched a dozen other isekai animes before watching this one, maybe my enjoyment of it would not be that great, but wouldn't be as high. That's definitely possible. But as it stands, I haven't watched too many isekais, so this one was enjoyable. It was fun. I like all the characters. Like I said, you love to hate King Trash and Bitch. You love to hate them. Melty's cool. Philo and Raphtalia are great. All the other heroes being dumbasses and Naofumi, I was going to say eating them out. Chewing them out is satisfying to see. It's a good show. It's a fun show. I look forward to season 2. I have no clue when it's coming out, but I look forward to it. And yeah, I would say give it a watch. 25 or 26 episodes, not too much. I would say give it a watch. It is worth it, especially for those first 13 episodes. First 13 episodes are just so good. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up this rambly anime review. I don't think I got too rambly this time. I'm getting better at it, although it also isn't like 2 in the morning, which is when I usually do them, so, yay me. But, yeah, I like the show. Overall, I liked it. Wouldn't call it a favorite, probably wouldn't stick it in my top 10, but it was enjoyable. I still liked it. I didn't feel like it was a waste of time watching it. It was fun. It was a fun show. Characters are fun. Characters are cool. The world's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing more of the plot unravel, especially because all the heroes are from alternate Japans, so that's really cool. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this. Give the show a try. I watched it on Crunchyroll. I think you can only watch it on Crunchyroll, so give it a watch. Go on Crunchyroll, watch it. It's cool. It's worth it. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for sticking with me as I, talked your ear off for over an hour now. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I have no clue what the gameplay is going to be. Hopefully it was something cool, interesting enough to watch. And yeah, I'll talk to you all later. Bye!